Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my Tuesday techniques for the month of March. As you know, I started doing these last month. Hi Sandy, hi Kim, glad to see everybody. I'm just going to wait a few seconds till everybody chimes in. Hi Kathy. Okay, I'm going to get started because it's 8 o'clock, or 7 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow night's class is at 8 o'clock. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for my Wednesday Design with Debbie class. So tonight, I'm going to show you guys how to do the galaxy technique. See how neat that is? It's a very simple card, just a lot of sponging. And I used acrylic paint where you see all the white splotches, so it's a little bumpy. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to show you how to do that tonight. Very easy card. So let's start out with the supplies you need. For ink colors, hi Regina, Tempting Turquoise, Basic Black, and Elegant Eggplant. Now for this technique, you want bright, vivid colors so that they're going to peek through the black. That's why we're using the Elegant Eggplant and Tempting Turquoise. For cardstock colors, Tempting Turquoise, 8.5 by 5.5. Hi Diane. Scored in the center at 4.25. Whisper White, 5.25 by 4. Whisper White, 5 by 3.75. Whisper White, 5 inches by 1 inch. And then we need a little tiny strip of the Myths and Magic Glimmer paper. That's 1/4 inch wide. And I'm going to show you what that paper looks like. It's beautiful. It can be found in the Occasions catalog. It comes in 3 colors and the sheets are 6 by 6. So I just measured 1/4 inch and it's 6 inches long and I'm going to trim it. So this comes in the iridescent, the light green, and the turquoise. It's so pretty. Let me see, what else am I going to need? I'm using the sentiment from Always and Forever, which is I'll always be here for you. And some acrylic paint. This is just the cheap acrylic paint you can purchase at Walmart or any of the craft sections in any of the stores. And then to do my sponging, I have a sponge for each ink color. So let me move this aside. For those of you that are not familiar with these, I'm just going to show you a quick tip. These are the stamping sponges that you can purchase. There's 3 in a package. I normally cut mine in half and then in half again. And I've actually seen people cut them in half again, but I usually just go with 4 pieces. And then I use a punch that's long. We used to have the decorative label punch and that retired. So I'm now using the everyday label punch. So what I normally would do is punch this out, fold it in half, and the cardstock that I would use would coordinate with the ink color. So let's say I was doing Elegant Eggplant. I'd cut a piece of cardstock, Elegant Eggplant. I would place that on the corner like so, and then staple it. That way you know what color your sponges are. And I usually put the initials of the color, like Tempting Turquoise. So that's just a quick tip. You get 4. And if you have one for each color, you don't have to worry about cleaning them. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll mention the other supplies I'm using as we go. I'm going to fold my card base in half. And I'm going to glue the largest of the Whisper White. And that's just to offset the 2 colored layers. It kind of makes it pop. Okay, now we're going to bring in the other piece of white and we're going to start the galaxy part of it. Hello to my hubby who's watching from the living room while I video. Okay, now I'm going to start with the Elegant Eggplant. I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. And I'm just going to keep adding color. You don't have to be real neat about it because you're going to cover a lot of this with the black. And I'm also going to add a little bit in the corner. This is a card that I saw on Pinterest, and I didn't actually go to the website to see how she did it. I just kind of did a visual thing and figured out my own method. Now I'm going to bring in the Tempting Turquoise. And don't be afraid to overlap your colors because that'll create a third ink color. Dave Kim wants to know if you're watching with the dog tonight. I'm sure Ruger's sitting right on his lap. Hi, Fran. Now, if you'll notice on this card, I left a little bit of white space in the middle. So I'm going to do that again this time. It's like a little piece of light peeking through. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. Let me blend these a little bit more. So that's all I'm going to do for those two colors. Now I'm going to bring in the black. And when you're sponging the black on top of the color, you still want the color to peek through. As you can see, it gives it a grayish tint, but you can still see the Tempting Turquoise and the Perfect Plum? Elegant Eggplant peeking through. So I'm going to start in the corner, and I'm not pressing very hard. I don't want to add a lot of the black. So you can see as I'm doing this, the color is still peeking through. I'm going to turn this around and do the other corners the same way. And don't forget that I have a class again tomorrow night for my Designs with Debbie, and I do have a list of supplies you guys needed. And you needed to print off a pattern for class too. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. Maybe a little bit more right here. But see how the color still peeks through on the black? That's what you're trying to achieve. Okay, let me clean off my fingers. Now, I do have a 1-inch wide strip of just any scrap paper. I'm going to put this down before I do my paint splatters. What happens is these paint splatters are raised, and I want the underneath of that where I'm going to glue my cardstock to be nice and flat. So I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to bring in a little Dixie cup, add a little bit of paint. And I'm also going to squirt some water just to dilute it a little bit. So maybe like 8 or 10 squirts. I'm bringing in a paintbrush and I'm going to stir that. And then I have some on the end of my paintbrush. Oh, first of all, let me add a piece of cardboard right in front of my iPad so I don't get paint all over it. So I can't see you for a minute. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my finger out and I'm just going to flick. So you can see you're going to get some big dots and some little dots, and that's fine. So now I'm going to remove this, remove my cardboard. And I do have a second Dixie cup full of water so I can put my paintbrush in there so it won't dry out on me. So we're going to let this dry. And I'm going to bring in my smaller piece of Whisper White. And we're going to do the sentiment. Now, I'm going to have to be careful because this one's not completely dry yet. So I'm going to cheat a little bit just so you guys can see the finished card. instead of flipping this over to add my stamping dimensionals, I'm going to add them right here instead. That way I don't have to flip that cardstock piece over. So you can see how easy that was. Okay, I need to wipe my fingers just so I don't get anything on the white. So if you guys teach classes or have friends come over, this would be a good card to do with them. It would be a fun group activity. Or by yourself. I like to experiment with techniques, so. Okay, I'm going to carefully put this down because it is still wet. And then we'll bring in the sentiment layer. And that goes right here. And the last step is to add the glimmer paper. Now let me trim that first. And I'm just going to use the liquid glue on the back of that because it's so small. So I think it was Lauren that was asking me last week, how do I know which glue to use? It depends what I'm working on. Because this is so small, it's hard to get snail on this, so I'm using the liquid glue. And that's it for this card. So you can see that my splatters are a little different. It depends how thin you thin it out. But that's my card for tonight. Very quick. And reminder to join me tomorrow night. Do you ever use sponge with different colors dried? I have taken my sponges before, Lauren, and run them under running water. And it usually doesn't take very long to dry. So I do use like the same color families and like all the reds or all the pinks. It does take time to get enough for all the colors. Like the sponge daubers is the same thing. I've rinsed those before too. So good question. So I hope you like my technique. This is called the Galaxy Technique, and I'll have this up on YouTube also in a couple days. Thanks for coming tonight. It was a quick card, but I'm glad you stopped in. See you later.